Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and I was always told I had a voice radio, so today we are looking at Gyarados from Dragonstorm. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, there's a new Gyarados coming. We thought it would have an ability. It does have an ability, and it's a very weird ability indeed, but it's one that we can kind of maybe get on board with a little bit. I don't really know. It is a very unusual ability, and it's a cool card, and I want to look at it, and it's my channel, and I do the videos I like, so I can. Sorry, that sounded really mean just then. Please keep watching. I love you. So Gyarados then. Gyarados is a water Pokemon. And being a water Pokemon is a very good thing at the moment because it means that you get Brooklet Hill. Brooklet Hill allows you to search for a basic water or fighting Pokemon and put it straight onto your bench. That is a great thing for consistency. You have access to Aqua Patch, which allows you to just attach a water energy from your discard to one of your water Pokemon on the bench. That's pretty nice. Oh yeah, and I did talk about switching Wrath just a day or two ago, and that can be used here as well. Water Pokemon at the moment, pretty gosh darn good. Now it's got 160 HP, and that is frankly massive. Stage 2 Pokemon like Empoleon at the moment, they are the ones that we expect to have 160 HP. 160 HP on a stage 1 is pretty gosh darn good. And it gets better because the weakness here is to Lightning. Now Raichu GX is still running around having a little bit of success here and there, but outside of that, Lightning is not really a relevant type. Yeah, sure, a whole bunch of people play the promo Tapu Koko, and they can do 40 damage to you, but that's it, ladies and gentlemen. High HP, good weakness. As for the retreat cost of 4, I mean, that is frankly gigantic. But I suppose at least until the rotation you can use Heavy Ball, so it could be an awful lot worse. And being a water Pokemon, it's a bit weird in terms of weakness, because on the one hand, any of these fire Pokemon, like Volcanion, that are weak to water, will be weak to you. On the other hand, and I say this for most water Pokemon, because it's something you've got to bear in mind at the moment, water Pokemon tend to be playing Ho-Oh GX, which is weak to Lightning, so a lot of the time they'll just use that, and then you won't hit for weakness, and that will be sad. But how about that ability, eh? Big Storm. If this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, and is damaged by an opponent's Pokemon's attack, put 2 damage counters on each of your benched Pokemon. And I did check with David, and this is the correct translation. It puts damage counters on your Pokemon. Now, attacks that put damage on your Pokemon, these are fairly new, to be perfectly honest. We've seen stuff like Dugtrio, for instance, from X and Y, or, and you know I'm going to mention it any possible time that I can, my boy Donphan Prime, who did do 10 damage to all of your bench Pokemon. But this is from an ability and its damage counters. Now, this is very important because if you don't want this ability to come in, you can't use Mr. Mime. Mr. Mime blocks damage by attacks. And this is damage counters from an ability, whoopsie daisy. And even something like Machoke, that we used to use to stop Decidueye GX's Feather Arrow, can't be used here because Machoke specifically says prevent all damage done to your bench Pokemon by your opponent's attacks. Your opponent's attacks and abilities can't put damage counters on your bench Pokemon. It does not prevent your abilities putting damage counters on your bench Pokemon. That is far from ideal. So what can you do? Well, for the time being, you can use Garbodor, and that will turn off the ability, so you don't have to take the damage counters. But Alola Muck won't work, because you're not a basic, so you'll keep your ability. And Glaceon won't work, because you're a non-EX, non-GX, and Glaceon only turns off EXs and GXs. And this is an ability that you might want to turn off here and there. And you can't. Which is bad. You can with Garbodor for the time being, but we expect Garbodor to rotate in September. And then you're just going to have this sitting here. This is potentially a punishing ability. Now the good news is there is one good use for this ability, And that is outrage Pokemon. Pokemon that do more damage based on the number of damage counters on them. So we've got both Lucario GX and we've got Tauros GX that both have different names but the same GX attack that does treble the amount of damage on you. So you can do 2 damage counters a couple of times and then you kind of come in and hit big damage with that. That's quite nice. Similarly, we've got the Zekrom and Reshiram from Shining Legends, which do 20 damage, plus 10 for each damage counter on you, and of course they hit for different weaknesses, while also hitting colourless energy, so you don't need to play any particular kind of energy here, and then you've got a potential fire-type attacker in Reshiram and lightning-type attacker in Zekrom. And certainly, Dugtrio did used to see play, well, with these Pokemon, but the old prints, not the ones from Shining Legends. Now, there is a Kyurem that has the same kind of outrage attack, which is going to be coming in the same Dragonstorm set, but don't get excited, it's got the same HP, and it's a Dragon type, so it's not hitting anything for weakness. Although it does have an attack for water energy, so maybe you would play that with Gyarados. My Kyurem video is coming later today or tomorrow, so we'll talk more about Kyurem then. This is an ability that you can make work for you if you play these outrage Pokemon. But it is not an ability you can turn off. And it's not an ability you can play a bench sitter to get around. So it really is a little bit of a liability. Especially when you remember that Magikarp have 30 HP and your opponent attacking you twice will KO all of them. Or, let's say they use a Tapu Koko promo, they do 20 damage to all of your Magikarp, then the ability kicks in, and 2 damage counters go down, a Tapu Koko promo will instantly KO all of your Magikarp. Although the good news is that a Mr. Mime on the bench would protect the damage from Tapu Koko, just not the ability. Having said that, if you're in the expanded format, because it's rotated out of standard, but in expanded you do have the Gyarados that does 30 damage plus 30 more for each damage counter on each of your bench Magikarp, so actually using one of these Gyarados could then put 20 damage on all of your Magikarp and really help to fuel yourself for future turns. But that's a whole different deck and a whole different video, I just thought it was worth pointing out quickly. So this ability is a little bit of a pain. But you've got 160 HP, and you know what? The attack is great. 2 water, 1 colourless energy, 160, and you may discard a stadium in play, but you don't have to. This attack is great, and when you combine it with the 160 HP, now we're starting to see why this ability is here. 160 will basically KO any non-GX Pokemon. Something like Empoleon that I mentioned with its high HP, yeah, that goes straight down. Then you add a Choice Band, and you're getting a one-hit KO on stuff like Buzzwole and Tapu Lele, both of which see a huge amount of play, and although it's not something you can reliably do every turn, you can even use a Professor Kukui here, and then go and get a one-hit KO on something like a Zoroark, which would be very nice indeed. So you're doing a whole bunch of damage here, and you get to discard a stadium. Maybe your opponent has dropped a Parallel City, and it's really making your bench smaller than you would like. Get rid of it. Maybe you're against a Magnezone deck and your opponent has played a Mount Coronet to make sure that they can always be getting their Metal Energy back out of their discard. Just go ahead and get rid of it. Maybe you've used Brooklet Hill and your opponent is also playing a Fighting or Water deck, but you don't want to give them access to your Brooklet Hill to search out their Pokemon, so you put it down, search for a Magikarp, pop it on the bench, and then you get rid of it with this attack. Now, the attack is a little bit expensive. Free energy is more than we would like, but it's a non-EX, non-GX, so if you're behind on prizes, and let's face it, you know, you're probably going to be behind on prizes, you can use counter energy. Because the other thing to remember here, of course, is that as much as Tapu Koko with this ability could KO all your Magikarp, Buzzwole, the residual damage from Jet Punch will KO a Magikarp. So if they were to, for instance, get a Guzma into the active, or if you had a Magikarp active and on the bench naturally, your opponent would take 2 prizes from a Jet Punch, which is a little bit of a pain. So do I mean, you pretty much have to play Mr. Mime or Machoke if you're playing a deck like this Gyarados, especially at the moment, because Boswell is a real pain running around. And obviously, like I've said, Tapu Koko will literally KO all of your Magikarp in one go. But between Aqua Patch and Counter Energy, it shouldn't be the most difficult thing ever to get this energy on here. And make no mistake about it, the ability is a right pain, and it's something you are going to have to mitigate. Although if you did play a Garbodor to get rid of the ability, that would also be kind of cool because you'd be turning off your opponent's abilities, but then again you'd also be turning off a potential Mr. Mime to protect your Magikarp, so hey ho. The ability is an issue, and the 30 HP Magikarp are an issue. But taking those aside, this card is very good. 160 HP, a weakness that really is not seeing a huge amount of play at the moment, and an attack that does 160 for free energy and discards a stadium. That's a good thing. Turtonator does 160 for free energy and discards 2 energy attached to it. Bad thing. Raichu does 160 for free energy and does damage to itself. Bad thing. This does 160 for free energy and does a good thing. It's a great attack on a very high HP single price Pokemon with a good weakness, but the 30 HP Magikarp and ability could be an issue. I'm giving it between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies, that would of course be barbaric. But do remember that if you can get around these issues I've stated, this is a great card. But whether you agree or disagree, maybe you know a way that you can make Gyarados work, maybe you just think it's terrible, that's what the comment section is there for, so go nuts, but be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, etc., then head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio. And do check out my video game/Dragon Ball channel, Wassie Plays, for some more Wassie action. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.